Good morning and welcome to NC Tech's Focus on Talent webinar. I'm Andrea Fleming, Director of Talent and Workforce Development for NC Tech, and I'm so happy to have all of you join us today. I was on the prep call earlier this week, and I'm so excited for all of you to hear from the individuals at Code the Dream with their guests from Cisco and SAS. A little bit about NC Tech. We're a not-for-profit, membership-driven trade association and the primary voice of the tech industry in North Carolina. So NC Tech's mission is to foster growth and champion innovation in North Carolina's tech sector while providing a voice for the tech community across the state. Our membership includes over 600 companies, organizations, and institutions employing more than 200,000 workers across the state. We do our work in 4 major areas: our professional networks, government affairs, sector promotion, and talent development. So my area of talent and workforce, that's a frequent topic in all of those areas. Talent's really critical to the success of an organization. The change in the labor force and future talent pipeline are a big focus in the US, but especially for tech companies as they have really specific skills needed for the industry. We host these talent and workforce development focused webinars throughout the year, so watch for announcements, promotions in our newsletters and on social media. Some of the topics we'll cover diversity, equity, and inclusion, education and the role of a community college system, training and development, women in tech, recruitment, retention, and then today we have a combined topic of apprenticeship and diversity. So if you have suggestions or requests for topics or companies to present, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to talk through that with you. Little housekeeping. If you have questions during the session, please use the Q&A feature in Zoom and we'll get to as many questions as we can at the end. So today's session is on diversification through apprenticeship, hosted by Code the Dream with employer partners Cisco and SAS. Our host and moderator for the session today is Daisy Magnus Aite. Daisy is co-executive director of Code the Dream. She actually wrote her first line of code in a Code the Dream class, and within a year was working as a full-time software developer at Duke University. Daisy's played many roles at Code the Dream, from a student in their initial pilot to director to board vice chair and now co-executive director. She has a master's in education, innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship from UNC Chapel Hill. Go Heels. You're in very good hands this morning. And with that, Daisy, I'll turn the mic over to you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you to the entire NC Tech team. Good morning, everybody. Is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time? Why haven't you done it? If you're like many leaders in tech, you have ambitious and specific goals around diversity and productivity. Yet, despite your best efforts, these 2 goals remain unfinished quarter after quarter, and maybe even year after year. I believe that you can accomplish those goals, and Code the Dream can help. My name is Daisy Magnus Aite, and I'm the co-executive director here at Code the Dream. Also with me on this call are Dan Rierick, co-executive director, and Tom Rao, director of CTD Labs, and also we have leaders from Cisco and SAS. Today we want to share with you details about our tandem apprenticeship model and how this model can help you achieve critical business goals. Through tandem apprenticeship, you can dramatically increase the diversity and the productivity of your tech teams in just a few short months. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through our model and our impact, and then you'll get to hear directly from leaders at Cisco and SAS who will share the outcomes they achieved through a tandem apprenticeship partnership with Code the Dream. Before we get started, I want to tell you about our ambitious goals here at Code the Dream. Our mission is to create opportunity that changes lives, to build technology that benefits our communities, and to support the diversity that drives a more just and innovative world. We seek to make an impact and then multiply that impact. At Code the Dream, we want to radically change the face of tech and change lives in the process. So let's talk a little bit about the why behind our work. Code the Dream was founded on the idea that everyone deserves a chance at opportunity. Everyone deserves a chance to use their talents to reach their highest career potential. We recognize that inequality exists, but we also realize that each and every tech company has a unique opportunity to push us all towards economic justice. With every line of code, with every product launch, with every system optimized, you can multiply opportunity and accelerate economic justice. So the best way to illustrate the incredible potential of our work is through the words of our participants. Take, for example, this quote from one of the student developers in our program. "I am a mom of 4, she says, and I care for my blind mom. College is not an option for me at all. Code the Dream is giving me the tools that will equip me to change my entire family's life. This program is not just changing one person's life by training me for a better job. It is helping 7 people." This is precisely what it means to make an impact and then multiply that impact. And this is our vision at Code the Dream. Tandem Apprenticeship is a way for companies to work alongside Code the Dream to realize this vision. With this unique win-win partnership, companies increase the diversity and productivity of their tech teams while opening life-changing opportunities for people from diverse backgrounds. We've worked closely with a number of companies, including Lonewell, 95% Group, Summa, SAS, and Cisco. And you'll hear from leaders at SAS and Cisco in a moment. Now, regarding the process, there are 3 things that set our program apart. First, a selective application process. Next is a free 1-year training program. And then lastly is a full-time apprenticeship. When working with Code the Dream, during the apprenticeship phase, that last phase, companies are engaging with cohorts of educated and experienced apprentice developers. In addition, each cohort is supported by Code the Dream senior engineers, like Tom, who's on this call right now. These senior engineers provide hands-on technical guidance and intense mentorship that is customized to the specific projects and needs of the company. The results are development teams that are the result are knowledgeable and productive development teams that our partners have described as technically outstanding and extremely impressive. Lastly, I want to note that Code the Dream has spent the past 7 years building one of the most diverse tech companies in the country. We've received numerous awards and recognition, but we always go back to the most rewarding thing, the most important thing that we do is changing people's lives. So with that, I want to pass it over to my colleague, Dan. I've given you a general outline about our program, the why and the how we do our work. But now I'm delighted for you to hear directly from partners to hear how they have incorporated Tandem Apprenticeship and the results that they have seen. Dan?
Thank you, Daisy. Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be joined by Chris O'Rourke, VP of Engineering for Wireless at Cisco, to hear a little bit about Cisco's experience of working with Code the Dream. So, Chris, could you maybe just quickly introduce yourself and your role?
Yeah, thanks, Dan, for the intro, and then happy to be here. So I lead our wireless software engineering team. This is a global engineering team which supports Cisco's wireless business. To give you kind of a scale of that, we have 34 million access points deployed globally, and our team is in Asia, Europe, and the US. So we have diversity in terms of location and a large software code base to maintain support as a team here. I personally have been a software engineer for a good portion of my career. I think I was 12 years a software developer, sometime in product management, and kind of moved into engineering leadership in more recent years.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I know you've got a big task ahead of you. Can you tell me in terms of hiring, can you tell me about the kind of general challenges around developing a talent pipeline?
Yeah, I think there's like inertia around the talent pipeline that is not really solving some of the diversity challenges we're having in tech. And our existing tools and processes aren't really moving the needle. I mean, we're tweaking them. We're trying to do diverse interview panels. We're trying to look in different places, et cetera. But generally, we're coming to the conclusion that we really need to think outside the box to kind of infuse Cisco with a diverse pipeline.
And what was the specific draw to working with Code the Dream?
Yeah, I think I see two things. Like one is really beyond Code the Dream, which is the 4-year degree is no longer a requirement in software development, right? The coding school, I've been on the board of a couple of coding schools, like they're emerging and a great source of talent themselves. And I think that the additional draw, and I think which makes Code the Dream really exceptional in this, is that your mission and focusing on bringing underrepresented groups into tech, layered on top of that is like a perfect solution to the challenge we're having with regards to access to talent and the diversity of that pipeline. And I think that really kind of pulled Cisco towards Code the Dream, an alignment of our values and really looking to improve the diversity of our talent pipeline.
In terms of the way we actually have worked together, I think we set up our work with Cisco as a contract development project with guidance provided by Cisco team leads, but with day-to-day oversight from Code the Dream's own senior developers. How did you feel that worked? And I think both in terms of advancing actual product development and in terms of the quality of the team of Code the Dream developers that you worked with.
Yeah, I think one comment is like, how do we get there, right? I mean, there are a number of ways the talent joins Cisco. You could join as an intern, you could join as new hires, and I really felt like, as we worked together on this, Dan, over a couple of years, I think we were trying to find a way in, right, to find a way to bring that talent into Cisco, and kind of the internship length, 3 to 6 month type engagement is really a good way for both the apprentices to test Cisco and Cisco to test the apprentice. So view it as like a long interview process, right? So we settled on this, establishing Code the Dream as a supplier to Cisco, like as a contract, software contract house to Cisco, which really kind of solved, a few things, right? It bypassed a lot of Cisco's red tape, frankly. Like, we didn't have to go through the university hiring system. We didn't have to, try to push folks directly into, open positions. And they came with more structure, right? And I think some of that structure is the Code the Dream senior developer who provided mentorship through the process on the Code the Dream side of this contract. We also had advocates inside Cisco. I think that, like, if I look at the productivity and setting aside and not that we are setting it aside, but if we only looked at the productivity of this program, both in terms of value and what we got out of the project for the dollar, it was actually a very successful project, right? And a major impact on our product. A lot of good work was done within a 6-month period with 6 apprentices. I feel in the end, like, it was high value for Cisco, both for the diversity reasons I named earlier, but also from the even if the only thing you cared about was the dollars and productivity, I think it was a high value program. But it also was high value for those apprentices. Whether or not they come back to Cisco, and we want them to come to Cisco at some point, I feel that they grew. They learned what it is like to work with a global engineering force. They learned what it's like to work with a giant software code base, which I think is like a step function in any software developer's life when you go from your desktop to millions of lines of code. So I really do feel it was a win-win. Win for Cisco, win for the apprentices, and actually win for Code the Dream as well, because we hope to take this forward. And in terms of the quality of the team of the developers, I think they're very high quality. One thing I've found with coding school in general, and you can kind of hear it, I think Daisy gave us the quote from a mom who's focused on this as a life-changing experience. These apprentices come with more maturity. right? They've seen some of life, right? They're serious about investing in themselves, and that itself kind of sets the apprentices, above what we might see from maybe college interns, right? That's kind of my view from coding schools in general. So yeah, overall it's a win-win. We got great results and by the way, some of that code is now shipping on a major release which went out this summer. So supporting these 34 million access points out there, deployed in places that all over the world. And I also felt the quality was super high. I do feel that senior developer and mentor in the mix was just the perfect addition to kind of make things make things run much more smoothly.
Thanks, Chris. And just to wrap up, what would you say to other execs that are considering this?
Yeah, this is going to sound a little bit cliche, but I'll try to unpack it after I say it. I think you need to take risks and be bold, right? I don't think big changes will come to any large organization, and Cisco certainly is one of those, without taking risks and breaking some mold. I want to say breaking the rules, but breaking the mold. You need to challenge the system. I do feel that companies, and I'll give you one anecdote on one of the areas of challenging the system we ran into. We have a large diversity inclusion team at Cisco, and they had never really interacted with our procurement folks. So our procurement folks want to know how many dollars per software engineer per contract we're going to get. They're only worried about the economics, and it never really became a purchasing criteria or a criteria like the diversity of the talent in those contractors. And so I actually worked to break those silos and bring the diversity team in contact with our procurement group to actually get Code the Dream approved as a supplier. So I think you're going to have to break things, and don't be afraid of it. I think we do talk about that a lot, in our and it has become a bit of a cliche, but this was definitely a case where perseverance, and it wasn't just me, folks on our team just stayed after this and continue to challenge the system and continue to try to break the rules to get this going. Now, we want to multiply it, and in fact, we're doing a campaign internally about apprenticeships, so I hope, Dan, your demand goes up across the company, and it's not just wireless. But I would just encourage the group here, if you're serious about this, the rubber meets the road when you start to take risks and try to break models and challenge the system.
Thank you so much, Chris. Looking forward to continuing to work together. I want to go ahead and pass it over to my colleague, Tom Rao, our director of Code the Dream Labs.
Thanks, Dan. Hi, everybody. So I'm with Amy Dole and James Haroon. They've been working directly with our apprentices that are part of the Tandem Apprenticeship at SAS. Between them, they have an extremely wide breadth of experience and skills that I'll let them tell you a little bit about right now. So, James, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your work at SAS?
Sure. So I grew up very interested in computer science, mathematics on one side, but also very interested in art, self-expression, creating and making things. So I always understood that curiosity, innovation, and technology were, two sides of the same coin. And when I finished my academic work, I worked for a long time in higher education. I realized that we weren't necessarily preparing students in traditional academic pathways to succeed in the ways that I felt could really, help people grow, be innovative, creative, and also work on their technical skill. And so I came to SAS and I worked in the global academic group. I did a lot of academic consultation and enablement work. And now I lead a team called the Innovative Technologies and Experiences team. And our focus is to bring to life new experiences, exciting things that SAS can put out there that people can identify with and try out. So for me, this is a very great opportunity because we're bringing minds from outside of SAS in an innovative way, asking for them to come in and influence us.
Awesome. Thanks, James. Amy, how about you?
So
I actually grew up on a farm in a very rural area of Ohio, and so Code the Dream really hits home with me. Um, what you guys stand for and all the people that you bring in, I think encompasses um, a lot of where I came from and a need that I've seen, where generally folks, grow up, go to school, get married, get a job. If they're lucky, they can learn a trade. For example, my mother was a nurse and my father was an electrician, and our farm was really just sort of a hobby, right? Um, and we learned a lot of things. Our household was maybe a little unconventional, where my parents um, helped my sisters and I understand that there's a wide diversity of people, and it really didn't just matter about people, right? It was about where we were. If things needed to get done, you learn to do those. So it didn't matter size, shape, race, gender. You just helped get things done. And sometimes that meant you needed to be creative about how you did that. It also meant reaching out and creating partnerships with your siblings or other people that were around to help you accomplish that task, right? For me, it was I always knew from a younger age that I wasn't necessarily going to stay there. The life I wanted to have, the job I wanted to do, wasn't really available in a rural area. And we weren't lucky like we are today, where you can work anywhere and be online, right? So I did go away to school, and I have a background in design and UX and now development. And over the years, I've managed all of those areas. I currently at SAS manage 5 of the 10 fellows, and partner with James on that. And it's really been I have to say, from when I found out that about Code the Dream and that I was going to be part of this project, it's really been a life-changing event for me personally. Just being able to know that there's this opportunity out there for people from a rural area as well as international and inner city, and just so many people that you guys encompass as part of this program. I really love that. And, part of my passion is sharing my skills and my background to help others grow and see the potential in themselves. So I feel extremely lucky being part of this program and working with all the great folks here at Code the Dream, as well as my partners at in Solutions Factory here at SAS. And then, of course, the 10 fellows, right? Seeing them over the past 8 or 9 months, and we have a few more months left with them, but seeing them grow and blossom already, they came in with an amazing foundation, but I think seeing them go even further is just fantastic, and I'm really happy to be part of it.
Awesome. Yeah, and thank you guys both for making the fellows like first experience in a tech company such a positive one. I think it really means a ton to all of us. Before we jump into the weeds, I want to make a quick note of clarification for the audience. So at Code the Dream, we usually call everyone at the junior developers that are in the Code the Dream Labs programs apprentices. At SAS, they're part of the internal program. It's a fellowship. So at SAS, that we call them fellows, or they call them fellows. And so for this next part of the conversation, those two terms might be used interchangeably. Just wanted to get that out of the way. So James, can you talk to me a little more about the motivation for working with Code the Dream and how you got involved on the project, and then a little bit about how you and SAS prepared for the fellowship program?
Sure. So like I mentioned, we're looking to bring innovation to light, new experiences, approach new users of our software, transform how we're perceived in the marketplace, and so on. And I was so excited to be involved because bringing people from outside the company who are part of an apprenticeship program, who have the right training, is a way for us to see what we're missing when we think about how we traditionally develop or think about our software products and so on. So I saw this as an opportunity for us to open ourselves up and be influenced so that we could learn where a new opportunity could be possible with the fellows, right? And that was really motivating because internally, that allowed us to think, who are we going to collaborate with within the company? Amy is in the product experience division. I'm in a division called Solutions Factory. And this was an opportunity for us to come together, rethink what does onboarding, training, orientation look like for bringing 10 people in at one time and accelerating their ability to function within a very complicated large software company. So we wanted to really accelerate that. We wanted, since we knew our time was going to be limited in the fellowship, we wanted to make certain that we were providing not only external training resources that we have as part of our learning management systems and so on, but connections within the company that could bring internal expertise to help train the fellows as they got on board. And as part of that, we wanted to make certain that we were exposing everybody to the Code the Dream program and also to the SaaS culture and work environment. As another part of that, we wanted to make certain that the fellows were connected with mentors who could not only mentor them technically, but who could provide guidance in terms of their career experience. So part of what we also brought to the table in terms of preparing for the program was a series of conversations with SaaS leaders so that the fellows could hear about the leaders' personal experiences. And what was so exciting there was so many SaaS leaders stepped up and wanted to be involved because they themselves had non-traditional pathways to get where they are as influencers and leaders in a large software company. So we prepared all of the training and connections with mentors and so on as a structured beginning to the program so that we could get the fellows deep into our code base, understand the building blocks of how we make the software, so that now they're working on very, very sophisticated and challenging project work that will be touched and felt by our customers. And much of this work is already out the door.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I guess we're nine months into the 12-month program. Amy, have they been successful? And what kind of metrics have you guys used to evaluate their work?
Yeah, they've been extremely successful. And we did some, we captured a lot of data on some dashboards, right? Being able to watch the number of tickets that we're going through and how people are working. Tickets don't show, bugs and stuff that people are working on. It doesn't really show the whole story. So we also created some dashboards or some Confluence pages where we could actually have the fellows document what they were going to work on each sprint, as well as being able to note items that they worked on that possibly got moved to other people, right? Sometimes part of your work is finding out, digging in, figuring out how to fix something or how to build it, and then realizing that maybe that needed to move on to a bigger area, maybe the design needed refactored or something. So that work would get moved out of their name, and we didn't want to lose that, right? All that work is something that they're learning, they're spending their time on, and that kind of creates that bigger picture. It's not just about a number of items you closed out for the sprint. But one thing that is really successful with it was it showed a pattern of when they were going through a training or a learning phase, and then when you could see once they were in there actually digging in and doing the work. So it was really amazing to see the work and how it flowed. From that also, we learned a lot as it allowed James and I, when we had one-on-ones with these folks, to be able to talk to them and get feedback and give feedback quite quickly because we could see the work that was happening. All these metrics, though, were items that they showed kind of what components people were working on, the project they might be working on, and so on. So there was a lot of different factors. All these metrics were available all the time, but every month, which really was the end of the sprint, we would share that with the executives. And one of the biggest things was that we had a 3-month and a 6-month check-in where we presented all of this, as well as just in general how the project was going with the executive team and several other people. The Code the Dream, the 10 fellows were actually part of those presentations, and I think that was really something to note, that they were able to present, and they did just an absolute amazing job. And what a great experience for them that they'll be able to take with themselves, whether they work at SAS or work somewhere else. But they're now presenting to executive level people and sharing not only their experiences, but talking about the work that they did and why they did it. And the other thing to note is that within the first month, this was a very accelerated project, kind of as James mentioned, where we brought them in and trained them and got them used to being with an executive or within a corporation as big as ours. But within the first month, they were actually pushing real code that has gone out the door. So it's been successful where they've been putting out code for months now, and it's really something for us to be proud of, getting them in there, and for them to be very proud of themselves for doing that work.
What about long-term success? What's that look like, and where would you like to see the partnership go, James?
Yeah, so Amy and I are very involved in communicating with the fellows on a daily basis. And one of the conversations we have with them is the fellows are already succeeding. We don't see this as this is a learning pathway to help build your career only, right? We are always telling people, you're already involved in the work. You're part of SAS teams who are coming together to create and improve our existing products. So for me, part of success is already there because the fellows are already doing the work, and they're part of large SAS teams, and they're team members in that way. And I like to think about the fellows as being at the center of success, right? So I don't know, sometimes I tell myself, or I say this, I close my eyes and I think about what we're providing. And I really see success as a way for us to give skill to the fellows so that any place they go in their career, they're able to take the foundations we've given them, the professional and social connections they've been able to foster and maintain, and a knowledge of all of the opportunities that exist within a large software company. Wherever they want to go in their career, to me, that's what long-term success looks like, that we are involved in providing those things, and the fellows themselves are becoming leaders in the technology field. And that's really where I see long-term success here, is that everything we're providing within the framework of the fellowship is just, I don't know, its own trajectory so the fellows can succeed. And I have no doubt in my mind they are going to be leaders in the technology field. There's no doubt about that, and that's where I see long-term success.
Awesome, thank you. That's great. Let's see. Let's end this on a feel-good note. Let's talk about some stories about the fellows. Amy, do you want to go first? You have any good stories?
Sure. So I kind of wanted to talk about career conversations. We mentioned that a little bit. When the fellows came in, the first 6 months was about building blocks, is how James and I looked at it. They had a little bit of additional training. They learned about how to work within our area, how our systems were set up, our processes, procedures. But as James mentioned, I'm in the product experience group. So we also were able to get them involved to learn a little bit more about accessibility, about internationalization, work very closely with our designers and UX people so that they understood our styles and the styling guide we have for the theming of all of our products. The group that we were in also builds all of the components that go out and then are used within the applications. So they did that, and then as part of it, to add on to that building was that we set up these career conversations with all different levels of people within the corporation. And it was usually one, sometimes two a week of these. And it was really amazing opportunity for them. But the big thing out of it was really seeing that when they came to SaaS, I mean, they had this amazing foundation that you guys built and sent them with, right? But in their heads, they had changed their lives to become developers. And they just saw, hey, I'm gonna write code, I'm gonna be a developer. When they started having these career conversations and hearing about these paths and seeing these people and where they were, they realized, hey, now I have a skill set that doesn't just limit me to just coding. Like I have, a strong interest in the user. So I might want to look more over in the UX kind of field, or I really have a passion for accessibility and they need people that can code. So they wanted to also learn about that area, right? But also things like I could go into pre-sales, I could be in security, and so on. So it was really amazing to see this blossom for them and realize that their potential is out there for so many more jobs and opportunities. And especially that, as Chris mentioned, these people are a little more experienced. They're a little older. They've had maybe other careers in other areas and then changed their life to go into development. So that work is not, or that life learning that they've had isn't thrown out the door, right? They kind of learned, oh, I have this other skill or this other knowledge, and that like partners in with what I can do now. And so to me, that was an amazing thing. And I heard so many times, and I think James has too, from when we had one-on-ones with them, about how excited they were and how hungry they were to learn even more. Like, what else can I do with this skill? Where can I take it? And that, I think, is just an amazing thing to see. And I think that they also are able to take that back to other folks, like when they mentor back again at Code the Dream or other areas, that they can help those folks learn there's so many other opportunities for them. So
yeah, awesome. I remember when we would meet with them every week when they first started, and we thought we had taught them like a lot of the kind of base skills that they would need, like TypeScript and some other tools. And then probably 2 months in, they were coming to us with all of these things we hadn't taught, and we were just like, we don't know about Garrett, and they would work it out on the call, the 10 of them, and they got so tight, and it was awesome. Yeah, James, go ahead. Do you have one?
So I have, so many stories, right?
Yeah.
If you can tell, Amy and I are so enthusiastic about our fellowship program. So building on what Amy said, we wanted to give a holistic experience, and that's not just coding, right? Or access to tools or tool enablement. It's also about what is needed to put software out there. So from accessibility training, evaluating wireframes, and talking about prototyping, design thinking, where do we introduce personas and user stories and user journeys and things like that. As soon as we started having those trainings or sessions with the fellows, the enthusiasm and their involvement just went through the roof. Mm-hmm. And that was an eye-opening experience for me, because we had been working on a project that was an idea, and we were struggling with how to bring it to life, or how even to build a pathway toward development. And we had been in design sessions and so on talking about it, and we were kind of stuck. So Amy and I and other people in the product experience team and in Solutions Factory thought about, well, the fellows are the perfect group to bring into the design thinking and sort of the overall development process from the start, taking it from idea, building personas, thinking about user stories, user flows, and so on. And we had highly interactive and collaborative sessions with the fellows that really changed our ability to conceive of the project, where we were able to move beyond some of these roadblocks we had. And that really showed the idea we had thought about partnering with Code the Dream, was that we're bringing in new minds, new perspective, diverse voices to speak up. And believe me, the fellows are so eager to speak up that we embrace their contributions, because the contributions are helping us, right? And we're helping each other. And also, like what Amy said, another story that sticks out to me that follows in this vein of the fellows being so eager to contribute and speak out. You know, some of the leaders they've been involved with in the career conversations could be a little bit scary for people within the, I don't know, a big software company to approach, because they have a certain rank and title and they're responsible for large divisions and so on. The door was opened for the fellows to be in conversation with the leaders in the career conversations. And it was just incredible to hear the fellows have, on their own, through their own initiative, requested time with the leaders, and the leaders, you know, wanted to meet with them, and they are meeting with them. And to me, that was, I guess that's another great story, is the eagerness and the ability for the fellows to put it out there, speak with confidence, and understand that, you know, once a door is open, it's an opportunity. You need to take it. So those conversations I hear they're having with directors and VPs and so on, I think that's a great story to share, because a lot of people within a large organization would be afraid to approach a leader at that level and just have a, you know, an open conversation with them. So that's my second story.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. Really appreciate it, and all the work that you've done with the fellows. It really means a lot. Daisy, back to you.
We are almost at time. Amy, James, Chris, we can't thank you enough for joining this call. And to everybody on the call, we really, really appreciate your time today. If you want to learn more, and we hope that you do, you can check out our website, codethedream.org/tandem. To get more details, to review this presentation. And then there's also some contact information. We invite you to connect with us and discuss how we can make tandem apprenticeship a reality at your company. We want to hear what challenges you're facing, what ideas you have, what inspirations, what goals you want to reach, and how we can partner to make it happen. And so again, thank you very much for your time. I know there are some great questions in the chat. I'll pass it to you, Andrea, if you want to help us walk through those questions.
Okay, great. We have one for Amy and James. One challenge in the narrative around apprenticeships and fellowships, internships is compensation. It seems increasingly clear in this job market that hands-on experience for junior developers is the key to unlocking future value, even if it is at the expense of perceived competitive compensation. If you agree with this assessment, can you please talk through how employers, educators, and thought leaders can reshape this narrative?
Wow, that's a great question. So I would say, and Amy, so I would say, like, in my experience as a hiring manager, right, a lot of times level and compensation are based on academic achievement, right, or the level of, you know, degree. And here, showing that our fellows have had real product experience in software products that are generally known, that they can speak to. These aren't pet projects. These aren't just things that have been created only for the fellows. They're doing real work with real projects that customers are using right now. That helps change the narrative to talk about beyond academic training, real world career experience that applies to examples of real world products and projects, speaking to being embedded in highly complex and collaborative teams that come together as a swarm to do the work. To me, I feel like that's the beginning of a conversation to say, skill is about not just academic training, but also not just technical training, but showing success in real world application, working as parts of complex technology teams, and showing a trajectory to achieve more and grow. And I feel that's a great place for us to change the narrative about compensation. Yeah.
Does anyone else want to comment about that?
Well, I was going to say, we live in a world now where, things are shifting. Kids, young adults, right? They're growing up with technology. It's not, where they never saw it or used it, and now they got to go to school to learn about it. It's just everyday life. So relying on a degree to know that you can do this type of work, or any type of work sometimes, is not, I think, something we can look to always anymore. So seeing a program like Code the Dream, I think, is pretty amazing, where people are able to shift their life and go in and quickly learn this new skill. And I think what we need to look at when we're hiring people, and what I look at a lot of times, is it's about the person, right? It's about their desire and their want. A lot of these skills, we can train them. You could almost even train them on the job, right? You can add more and help them grow, but it's about who you're bringing in and what they're going to mean and what they stand for to help you and your company. I think Code the Dream, the fellows that we've worked with, really show that, right? These people have changed their life, gone from all kinds of different backgrounds and said, hey, I'm going to go do something and make my life better, my family's life better, my community better. And they're willing to go that extra mile. And we've seen that with all the work that they've done, right? They went above and beyond what they were learning at Code the Dream, what we were asking them to do and train on. And they were coming back saying, oh, well, I'm also taking another class. I'm taking a class on Python, and because I want to be prepared and I want to do that. I mean, it's just amazing the amount of knowledge that they're sucking in and wanting to learn and be able to build on themselves. And I think that's a really important factor to look at when you're hiring people, when you're bringing them in. It's not really about degrees, and sometimes even the work that they've done in the past, right? They may not have had the opportunity to work, but hopefully through some of apprenticeship programs like this, they are getting some experience and then able to go out in the world and use that to help better a lot of areas. So
I'm hearing attitude and aptitude rank really high.
Yeah.
yeah.
So this one is directed to James. I know Cisco, Chris, you made some comments about Cisco. When you were getting buy-in from the rest of the organization for starting this partnership, what helped that message resonate?
So I just want to clarify, the question is for Chris, right?
Well, the question was directed to you, James, but I know Chris may have some comments about this as well.
So
I can also jump in too, James, because I know you've been this great leader on the ground as we've done it,
right.
but weren't actually in the room for a lot of the initial conversations.
Yeah, I think that would be really helpful. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think the things that we saw both with SAS and Cisco and some of our other partners is kind of three things that make working with Code the Dream sort of unique. One, just the sheer skill level of the people that are already trained up. We have a lot of folks who did actually have some kind of tech adjacent background, and now they've just come to Code the Dream to get much more kind of high level industry standard training, which we think usually exceeds kind of the standard boot camp training. So that's the first thing. It's just the skill level, the ability for people to be able to jump in immediately and be productive members of teams. And then, of course, the diversity, the having teams where the majority, not everyone, but the majority of folks are people of color. Usually we're sitting at around 50% or more women at Code the Dream, which is amazing for the tech industry. And then lastly, just the flexibility. You've seen just with Cisco and SAS, really two very different models in which we're able to work together. One is a pretty standard contract software development where Code the Dream apprentices were building software for Cisco. And then Cisco just has the added bonus that unlike like a for-profit software development contractor, we're actually happy for them to be evaluating folks and to go ahead and hire on whoever they evaluate as the best folks, which hopefully is a big win for them. Whereas with SAS, similarly, except it was structured more as a standard, a little bit more like an internship sort of setup.
And I would just say that from the top, we already had conversations, I understand, going on about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this was highly motivated as well from leaders, and involving us in terms of building the framework at ground level was very important for us to, I don't know, close the loop and make certain that we're, I don't know, following that enthusiasm and support and developing it in a way we knew the fellows would benefit from.
And Dan, I just want to follow up on that comment. I don't think I touched on it earlier. I mean, generally with most of the contracts we sign at Cisco, the contractor wants to extend it at the end, and if we were to hire people, it's kind of viewed as poaching, right? Whereas here, the goal is to, have a good experience for both Cisco and the apprentices, and at the end, hiring is ultimately the goal, which is fantastic, right? And that is a stark difference from the other. So a lot of it's the same on the books. It's the same as it's a contract, and it's time based and it's statement of work, but the goal at the end is ultimately to bring these folks into the company, which is very different, and also huge plus for this approach in my mind.
Daisy, do you want to take one more question?
Does the panel have time for a few more minutes? Okay.
Yep.
So one fairly simple, I think I could answer this one. Cisco and SAS are both huge companies. Is this something that smaller companies can take advantage of as well?
Tom, do you want to take this? I know you've worked directly with smaller companies as well as the biggest of the big companies.
Yeah, sure. I think that, it's such a wide spectrum of sizes companies. I don't know exactly what we're calling small, but I think for something like a tandem apprenticeship, a lot of it is what kind of tech proficiency or tech leadership on that company's side that there is already. And then how involved our senior tech people are going to be involved. I think like with Cisco and SAS, it was very different. With SAS, they joined and we basically don't really have any contact. We never see any code or anything like that. We don't have daily stand-ups. With Cisco, one of our, myself and another developer at least met with them sometimes, and we're also contracted in so that we could look at code and help things. We really ended up not having to do really anything the entire time other than just occasionally talk about ideas. But I think for the smaller companies, it's probably more important that there's someone that really understands the software that they're building, that's some sort of tech lead on their side that can really help guide how they want to build it, if it's something like a tandem apprenticeship. The flip side is that we also all Code the Dream Labs, we also just take on clients and build projects. So for really small companies that don't have any like built-in tech, like a CTO or some sort of engineer, we can also potentially look at that as just a project, but it might not fit perfectly into the tandem apprenticeship model.
Perfect.
Yeah,
And
that
that
is a
kind of
really unique thing about our setup at Code the Dream is we have senior developers on our side that have anywhere from 5 or 6 years experience to 20 plus years experience who can also kind of help if one of the main goals is to actually get very specific pieces of software built. We have that expertise in-house as well.
Great. So I will bring attention to the Q&A box. You can access some of these questions through the recording. There were some great questions asked about NDAs and protecting intellectual property during the process. So if that's one of your concerns, please be sure to go into the Q&A and read those answers. Another one about different languages the apprentices work on, and continuing partnerships with Code the Dream after this initial cohort. Some things about looking at junior roles and traditional applicants. And then finally about processes for apprenticeship delivery of different software development. Sorry, I'm trying to read and summarize at the same time. Anyway, there's a lot of good information in the Q&A as well. I think it's great that Amy and James wrapped up with some of those feel-good stories about how the apprentices worked into the companies, but then wrapping that up full circle to Chris's comments in the very beginning about these programs really being good business sense. Positive impacts on the bottom line, positive impacts for diversity, and bringing in new talent trained specifically for your company. Mm-hmm. I hope this session was helpful for everyone on the call. I hope it's motivated some of you to look into apprenticeship more deeply, especially with Code the Dream as a partner. I will share out a link to the recording for the session, as well as contact information on how to get more information about how this might work at your company and having an individual discussion with Code the Dream and connecting where you need to get your questions answered. I hope all of you enjoyed the session. I want to thank Daisy and Dan with Code the Dream, and James and Amy with SAS, and Chris with Cisco. Oh, Tom, I left you out with Code the Dream. Y'all were a fantastic panel. I think we could talk for another solid hour about this, about how apprenticeships can really be a significant part of a talent pipeline, not only benefiting the students and the apprentices coming in, but the mentors and the existing employees at your company to really help build that bond with them, with those new employees coming in. Daisy, do you have any wrap-up comments?
Just to say thank you to everybody. This has really been an exciting call, and we really look forward to having those one-on-one conversations with you.
Great, and that will be included in the follow-up. Thank you all. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Thanks for hanging in those extra 15 minutes or so. I think we had some great comments and questions there at the end. Thank you all.